Today we have a great question from Cybospy, who writes, "Hey, thanks for doing what you do. No, thank you for this great question. I actually saw you all over the Reddit, PPC subreddit, and this absolutely helps. Similar to the real estate meta ads video you made, could you do the same for meta ads for HVAC and other home services niche?" Again, thank you. So HVAC refers to heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Just like there's plumbing and roofing, there's heating, ventilation, and air conditioning techs that use Google Ads to get leads and to market their services. So let's go ahead and dive into Google Ads first, and then we'll dive into Meta. So the first thing I recommend is limit your conversion mixing. So you're obviously going to do a lot of lead ads here with Google. When you do this, I recommend breaking out your call ads. And I have a whole video on this, but when you break out the call ads, you get call only click to call ads on mobile, which is great. Now, if you conversion mix, it limits that ability. But when you break it out separately, you're able to break out not only the ability to do call only ads, but you can decide what the time length should be. It's all on my other video on call ads on my YouTube channel. So I highly invite you to check that out. Also, you have dynamic number insertion, which you can do either on the ad or even on your site. Now, that's when you go into almost a science. And usually that's for larger companies like, say, Domino's, right? So Domino's has different phone numbers all over the place. Even the same franchisee will have multiple numbers in different parts of the city. They do this to analyze resources, et cetera, on what portion of the city the phone number comes from and allocate drivers that way. So that's a whole other science. For right now, I just recommend something simple. Make sure you break out your call ads from your submit lead form or any other mid-funnel objectives. Make sure it's separated. I think it defaults to about a minute or even 30 seconds. I'd like to put it a little higher, maybe a minute, maybe even a minute and a half or even 2 minutes. Because when you think about calling about heating and ventilation and air conditioning, you want to have enough dialogue where it's not spam call, right? And a lot of times people call and, it's kind of short or they got the wrong number. And you want to limit the spam. You don't want to pay for spam. You want to pay for leads. So usually you want the call to be semi-long. I usually recommend a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Use local keywords like HVAC services near me, AC repair. Also, you have the dynamic keyword insertion, which is another video where you can actually insert the keyword insertion by city, and it will fill that in. So if you're in certain portions of the city, it will fill that in. Also use your exclusions in targeting as well. But for this, use local keywords such as the city you're in that you're looking to target, or use dynamic keyword insertion by city. Service-specific keywords focus on terms like AC repair, furnace maintenance, HVAC installation, emergency HVAC repair. And what I mean by this is I don't mean to get away from STAG. I still recommend single themed ad group and not STAG, single keyword ad group. I recommend this from the standpoint of AC repair to recommend AC repair coolant update or AC repair maintenance, or there's a whole bunch of different topics that can include AC repair that you use by keyword, right? And make sure that's going accordingly. Don't break it out by keywords. Like, don't do that. Make sure it's a topic. That's how you should be breaking these out. Same thing with furnace maintenance. Like, does it have to be furnace maintenance? Okay, it could be just furnace, but furnace repair, furnace maintenance, furnace lighting the furnace, all sorts of stuff. Because that's a big thing actually in cold areas. You have to light the furnace every year because you're not using your furnace all year. So you have to relight it. My furnace has to be relit once a year when winter comes because the soot from the dust squashes it. So you have to have a HVAC technician come in and do that. So there's a whole topic about that. You can also use HVAC installation, emergency HVAC repair. Just like I said, keep a topic. You don't necessarily want to go in terms of the niche. Use long tail keywords when you're targeting as well. Affordable AC repair in so-and-so city. A best HVAC installation for commercial buildings. You want to be targeting those long tail phrases within the ad groups. So that way you're getting people who have very high intent, and that's what long tail keywords does. Another thing I want to talk about are site link extensions. Site link extensions as part of the Blue link media, I should say, is just like one line with just a blurb, headline, and description. You don't want that. You actually want to own more real estate. So to do that, you have to use site links. Depending on the time of the year, say if we're like heavy in heating, right now it's winter. So for heavy in heating, you have the heating, and the description and the headline, but you also have the site links for, lighting the furnace, heating, cleaning, heater updates, heating repair. So you have all these different site links that correspond to that as well. So that way, search engine results is not just one line, it's multiple lines. You're trying to get as much real estate within your search engine results page. Separate campaigns for AC repair heating services. We talked about that. This is a good one. Run specific ads for winter heating, cooling, and summer needs. Absolutely. You're not going to be doing, depending on where you're at, heating all the time. If you're in the mid-east, even east, maybe you will be. But say if you're in California like us, you're really only going to be doing winter ads during the winter. You're not going to be advertising heating services all the time. So make sure you have those campaigns separated by need. That's the best way to do it. Also, high intent keywords, focus on getting your target CPA as to low as possible. And here's the way I recommend this with a cold campaign. If you have no history in it, it's just like some guy called you, they're HVAC technician, I want to get these services up. What I recommend is just using those very high intent keywords, set up those campaigns, see what your target CPA is, like let it run until it gets a form fill. See if that form fill is legit, right? Like work with them, say, hey, I got a form fill at this date. Did you get a lead on your form from the website that acknowledges this? Yes. Okay. So that's a good lead. Identify what that is and make sure it's a legit, make sure it's not spam. And then what you want to do is bring that down. Over the course of a week, you're like, okay, so my targeted CPA when I back out all these good leads is a couple $100. Okay, great. So now you know what your target CPA is. You want to bring it down slightly and then monitor the next week. And you want to bring it down again, monitor the next week. You won't know until you run it fully. So until you know what your average is, you won't be able to figure this out. So let it just run, get your target CPA, bring it down. You should be bringing it down. No more than 20 or 25%, even 20%. Stick at 20. That's what I'd recommend. Another issue I want to talk about is lead scoring and CRM. Lead scoring is huge, my friends. You are doing a huge disservice if you're just running ads with no CRM. CRM analyzes lead behavior. It analyzes lead scoring. So that way you're able to identify when the leads come in, which ones are spam and bullshit and which ones are real. And the client can say, this is a good lead, this is a bad lead. This is a good lead, this is a bad lead. That then funnels that information back to Google Ads for learning. And it says, this is a good lead. And that's what CRMs do. Make sure you're doing this. Right now, there's a few clients that are not doing this, and I'm jumping up and down like you should be doing this. This affects your ads. You're paying for bad leads sometimes, and that gets factored in the amount. So keep that in mind. Also, identify your negative target keywords, right? Do-it-yourselfers. I remove that, put that in your negative keywords. Jobs. This is very popular. A lot of people will Google search jobs and they'll do even like a submit lead form. Hey, are you hiring? And they'll submit it that way. Negatively target that. Get that through SEO or some other thing, but make sure you're negatively targeting that. It's a bad economy, folks. That's just what, unfortunately, people will use this sponsored links to do that. And it's nobody's fault. It's just a bad economy. So, but you don't want to pay for that. Let them find it organically and that will happen. Now hiring, again, going back to jobs, used HVAC systems. I'm on the fence on this. Sometimes the HVAC air conditioning units are very expensive, but they're rarely used. So you don't want to pay for, most technicians do not specialize in used equipment because you have to actually unearth the equipment and then move it somewhere else, unless it's a commercial entity. But other than that, no, it should always be new. Tutorials, right? You don't want to, you don't want people who want to learn how to do this. You're the specialist. You want to have people pay you to do it. Some initial headlines I thought was, HVAC repairs today, 24/7, save on HVAC installations. One other thing before we talk about Meta, as we work on this, is always think of Google as when you need an HVAC person, right? A heating, ventilation, and air conditioning technician, or you need a plumber, or you need a roofer. You're not going to go to Meta, right? You're going to probably go to Google. And that's the true for a lot of things, right? When I say this example, a lot of people kind of shoot it down. However, with Meta, that role is to familiarize yourself in that community and get your frequency up. Will you need a plumber today? Maybe not. Will you need an HVAC person today? Probably not. Will you need one eventually sometime this year? Probably. When you need to reheat your furnace or you need your air conditioning checked out, your air conditioning is leaking water, This is stuff that happens at my mom's house all the time. And you don't go to Facebook, you go to Google, right? But Facebook allows you to have a general awareness in the local area. So when people need, they got hit, say maybe a month ago or 2 months ago, they say, oh yeah, I remember that, Yosef's heating and ventilation and air conditioning. I'm going to Google that. And that comes up on your brand terms. And then they convert. But they converted because they know who you were. And that's where Meta comes into play. It's a mid-funnel conversion at that point. Yes, you can do some mid-lead forms. I've done some mid-lead forms on Meta, but really it's more of a mid-funnel play to get people into your funnel. They're aware of you and they're ready to convert. They convert on brand terms. Keep that in mind. I recommend a blended placement. Blended placements are when you have one post and you want it to go on both Instagram and Facebook, and it does it agnostically. So it'll aggregate all the feedback into one post and say, hey, it's so many times it went to Facebook, so many times it went to Instagram, and these were the engagements. It blends it into both. Same thing with stories and reels. I recommend compelling creative for both. It's very important that you have dedicated stories creative, dedicated feed creative. Not everybody just goes into feed. Not everybody goes into stories. It's kind of a little bit of both, but people usually go into spend a lot of their time on one or the other. Target homeowners, exclude renters. Use UGC style content. Also technician in the local community. Highlight in the creative your years of service in the community. Also special insight. Where my mom lives, there's a lot of trees in the area. So the trees have leaves that fall during the winter, and it clogs up our air conditioning. So when spring comes and starts getting a little warm, all the leaves clog it up. We have to every year. It's very annoying. So we have to call an HVAC person to come in and clean all that stuff. And if you already had creative dedicated to that, saying, hey, my name is Yosef and I'm an HVAC technician, and I've been in this city for so many years. One thing that always comes up here is the leaves clogging up the air conditionings. I know how to handle that. I've unclogged thousands of homes in the local area. This is also another issue that happens. The more insight you can give into that local DMA, that local area that you service, the more you stand out, because then they're like, yeah, I had that issue. I had the issue of the leaves being clogged into my air conditioning compressor, and it causes mischief. So make sure you highlight all those intricacies. Also organic. Organic is huge right now, my friends. And I don't mean it from Instagram or Facebook. I mean it from YouTube. YouTube is huge right now. And if any of you listen to my podcast, my audio podcast, we're about to cross 100 episodes, actually. YouTube Shorts, they're giving away inventory right now. So if you have a bunch of just quick shorts of you installing something or a review, or you talking about your service, YouTube Shorts will handsomely reward you. They'll actually give you a whole bunch of views just for free. It's awesome. Also do long form, the world's second largest search engine in the world. So when people look up, say on YouTube, and people have done this, HVAC technicians in West Covina, you'll pop right up as a search result. And guess what? YouTube is owned by Google and connected to Google search. So organically, you will pop up. The more SEO you attach to that video that talks about the local area and what you do in that area as a technician, the more it'll help you. And then finally, we're going to talk about the site. So when we mention site, I want to highlight one thing. CRM, like I said, and then the site itself. Like, you should be using multiple landing pages for different cities. Chances are you don't serve one city. Chances are you serve, most HVAC technicians serve 3, maybe even 4 cities. If you think of like almost like a big square, right? 1 city, 2 city, 3 city, 4, usually 4 cities. Each city should technically have its own landing page. Yes, you can have one dedicated landing page that the services all of them. But the more you speak to your client and say, hey, I've been serving this, the Los Angeles area for 20 years. This is what I've noticed, and you have that as a video at the top. You kind of mention the city. It's a quick SEO hack to get you top of mind, either on SEO or even on paid, so people already understand, oh, great, this guy's been servicing the Los Angeles area for 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Even if you mention Glendale or even North Hollywood, which is a city for me. And again, I'm talking about the 4 cities again, right? So I have one at the top that's North Hollywood. I have Sherman Oaks, and also have Glendale and LA. You have almost this big circle, and you're able to put each city into its own special site where they're like, oh, wow, this guy is regional. Remember, business is local, all business. The more local you are, the more intimate you are with your customer, and people will acknowledge you. That way you're just not another conglomerate. You're like, wow, I've been serving the Glendale area. Well, I'm in Glendale and I've been here for a long time. I'm going to use this guy. That's what you want to do. You also want to be optimizing landing pages. So if there's a certain layout, you want to A/B testing certain landing pages within those DMAs. That's another part of the process. And then, of course, CRM. So that's really it, my friends. So thank you so much for watching the video. Again, I'm on WhatsApp. I have my podcast as well. Feel free to check out the link tree on the top of the profile of my YouTube channel, and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. Keep the questions coming.